Crafty Babes, it's Andrea. Today I'm going to share a layout here in my Fringe Notebook using the Simple Stories Hello Today collection. It is like a year's worth of papers and cards and with little calendars and dated cards with like a kind of a monthly theme, but very generic. And I am loving the retro feel. I love the wood colors and, the wood grain, and it has a super fun, bright feel. And I have these two pictures of me in my backyard where we spend a lot of time, especially last year when the sun was out a lot. Not so much right now, but so I've picked out the elements that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to kind of do some clusters. I have this Fringe notebook is bigger than a 6x8, so you can easily fit a 6x8 format, like four 3x4s, or like I'm using here, 2 3x4s and then 4x6. And it just provides such a wonderful alternative to pocket pages, because you don't have to use the plastic. I can do a lot of things that now are not hidden behind plastic, which is nice. I really dig that. And here I have, I always get ahead of myself and I start sticking things down before I really know what I want to do with the card. I think part of it is because, well, two things. I get really irritated when the cards move around on the page a lot. And when the notebook gets too full, the pages get bowed a little bit and the cards don't stay where they're supposed to. And that kind of really bugs me. So I try to get them adhered as fast as possible. But also recently I have been wanting to do more stitching on my cards, like with the embellishments on them. And that actually has to happen before they get glued down or adhered down. So I have started to try to remember it's okay if things don't get adhered right away. Everything will be fine if they slide around just a smidge. So here, I just went off camera and stitched all 4 of those cards. So both 4x6s and both 3x4s. And now I can take the little tape backers back off again. And yes, I did stitch through them. So I just make sure that I clean any extra gunk off of my needle. I've only had it happen once where it just gets a little gunk on the needle and I just take a little wipe and clean it off. Not a biggie, but thankfully it was the only one I had started to add score tape to. Now, if you have been watching my videos for some time, you may be thinking, Dre, why are you using score tape? You are a glue stick girl, like tried and true. And I absolutely was. But as I started working outside of the pockets more, I did notice that the glue stick just wasn't holding up as long. And I didn't even notice these kinds of things while the items were in pockets. The pockets actually, add a layer of protection. So it wasn't something I was aware of. And I actually started using score tape for another project. I don't even remember why I ended up getting it. Maybe it was to do like my December daily cover, because I haven't been using it for very long, in my scrapbook years, my scrapbook life years. But I am loving the score tape. I do notice I go through it fairly fast, but I found that it adheres so much better. The only issue I have is that I love that the glue stick gives you some flexibility after you put it down. So I have to be just either very careful about where I'm placing before, I really press down on that tape, or I have to be okay with just kind of sometimes whatever happens, and I have to just deal with that because there's no getting it up. And that is okay with me. I've learned to embrace some of those imperfections and it helps me just feel a little bit more free and creative. Who would ever say that about score tape? Anyway, it all adds to the fun. And I really wanted to use this ampersand because ampersands are so fun and so cute, but it felt like it was too much. It didn't really fit anywhere. I was bummed because the colors were perfect with the kind of more warmer tones of this collection, which are the reds, the oranges, the pinks, and the mustards. I just decided I'm just going to put it aside. I will end up finding another place for it on another project, I'm sure. I do not bring it back as much as I wanted to. But I also love that this big label that we're looking at right here was actually not a die cut from the collection. It was actually cut out from another 4x6 card that I just knew I wasn't going to use the design that it was sitting on. So I used it on this wood grain, and it has that perfect amount of contrast. And just adding the stitching around all of those cards just adds that little bit of texture. I've been trying to add a little bit more texture and stitching into my projects because, they're just flat. And even though I'm not in pockets, or because I'm not in pockets, I actually do have the ability to kind of use a little bit more fluff. And even though I'm not using like fluff, stitching is texture for me. So now I'm going to see what kind of stamps I can add to these cards. I love that these cards are basically ready to just use, but they also have a lot of possibility. And this 11 card, I really wanted to put the date there, or the month, even though it says 11. It could, I don't know, confuse the reader in future generations. But I just like the contrast of the fonts. I like the scripty font from Carrie Bradford, along with that just very simple serif 11. It's a nice contrast. I think I might be ready to adhere this one down, but yeah, I was thinking about it for a sec. Like, what else do I want to do? Anything else at this point is probably just going to be journaling, because I feel like the embellishments really speak for themselves. And that's what I love so much about product, is that they can really work for you. They work to help tell your story. They work to, just provide those words that you don't have to necessarily write down. And I love that so much. I really should cut this out. Nobody really wants to see me putting score tape down on the back of a card and then tearing off the backing. Okay, so we've got everything adhered down. All the embellishments are where they need to be. I've stamped. And now we are going to, add a little bit of personality. I'm putting my name here because why not? It's about me, it's not about anybody else. And then I think that I'm thinking with the finger tapping, I'm always thinking. So maybe a little paper clip is necessary. I always think a Felicity Jane mini wide paper clip is essential to every layout. And part of me wants to continue adding things, but I really, really, really love the simplicity of what's going on here. And even though I try, I don't really remember if I add this label or not, but I guess we'll see together. Time for some journaling. And I always love to add some just basic guides for my writing. I don't tend to slant write, but I just am always afraid that I am. So I just like to have the simple guidelines. And then sometimes I will just mark with my pen over those pencil lines. Sometimes I wait until my pen dries because the pen does smear with an eraser if you will erase the lines too soon after it's written. So I think in this one you might not see me erasing anything. Oh, I just decided to go over the lines. And I like adding the little bit of journaling right there in that little cluster. It doesn't feel like it needed to be anywhere else. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and got a little bit of inspiration from this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, girls.